England had coronavirus infection in the last week up to the 31st of December, and this information was just released today, 5th of January. So 1 in 15 people in England actually had the infection in that 1 week period. This week into January it will be higher, perhaps 1 in 10. Next week it will be higher still, I would estimate. Then it might well start to go down. It's going to go down in about, this is going to go up for the next week or two, then down for the few weeks after that. There's no real doubt about that, because it's just spreading around everyone. It's as if the Omicron is burning up all the fuel that's available in terms of people that are susceptible, but of course as it goes, it's leaving huge amounts of community and herd immunity in its wake. It's just great. It's good that this is regenerating so much herd immunity, community immunity, or whatever you want to call it. We always used to call it herd immunity. I used to teach the students herd immunity, but we seem to be calling it community immunity now, but it's the same thing. 1 in 15 people in England would have tested positive if we tested the whole country. In London it was 1 in 10. Some signs that it's going down a bit in London now, some signs it's going down a bit, or levelled off. It could go up again, but we simply don't know. There's some signs that it's levelled off. Southwest of England, which was the lowest, even in the lowest part of the country, there was still 1 in 30 people infected in that week. This is not telling us whether they're symptomatic. This is based on antigen. This is based on antigen testing and extrapolating to the whole country, but in a very scientific way. So England, 3.2 million people infected, 1 in 15. Wales, 157,000 people infected, 1 in 20. I mean, that's just in 1 week. 3,270,800 people infected in 1 week. It's just really, clicking the wrong one, it's really dramatic stuff. Northern Ireland, again, similar, 1 in 25. Scotland, 1 in 20. So we noticed that England, England, 1 in 15, slightly lower in Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. So have the limited restrictions that they've introduced here helped to slow it down a bit. It's not going to stop everyone getting it, but has it slowed it down a bit? Perhaps a little bit. Not much, a little bit. Now, deaths fall in England and Wales. Now, the data for Scotland and Northern Ireland won't be out till this Friday, but we can expect it to be fairly similar. Week ending the 24th of September. So deaths are actually going down. So week ending the 24th of September, the last time there's deaths available. 591 deaths from COVID-19 registered. 1 in every 22 deaths, 4.5%. So 519 deaths in that week. The week before, from COVID-19, it was 755 deaths, 6.1% of all deaths. So down quite nicely. Can we say that Omicron is reducing, as Omicron spreads, it's reducing the number of deaths? Not quite yet, but we can say there is a temporal correlation. Interesting. Now we're going to get a report from somebody in Australia. So over to Dr. Sumadi now. Thank you very much, Sumadi, as always. And we always look forward to your reports.
Hi, John. I'm Dr. Sumadi Mahen, a general practitioner from Sydney. I'd like to give a short update on the Omicron in New South Wales. Over the past 2 years, we fought off all the variants of COVID with a strict lockdown and closed borders, which helped us to keep the death rate lowest in the world. Then we fought the Delta strain with the highest vaccination rate and the COVID rules, which was very effective, even controlling the infection. Since last 2 weeks, we have moved from the lowest rate of new cases to the highest rate per capita of new cases in the world. That's another record, good or a bad reasons. Now we have joined the world platform with Omicron virus. In Sydney, we recorded a first known case of Omicron on the 3rd of December 2021, a community transmission, this time a school student. Here a quick look at the graphs. The new cases, New South Wales, Australia. You can see a small hump, which is the Delta wave, and you can see a rapid spread, almost like vertical, that's Omicron. Since last 2 weeks, cases are exploding without any discrimination. These numbers are tip of the iceberg. Definitely the numbers are much higher, 5-fold increase because of the case positivity rate. Our case positivity rate is 21.4%. Usually in the past it's less than 1. This tells infection in the community is much higher and spreading very fast. People were not able to get the PCR test done because you have to stand in a queue for several hours, and to get the results it takes days. Even we do the PCR test, our lab is overwhelmed, could not cope up the load. That results delay in delivering the results. So our government introduced a rapid antigen test, those who have contacts without symptoms. Let's see the next slide. Daily new corona cases in Australia. As you can see again, it's a big Delta variant and again rapid rise in Omicron. This is follows similar curve compared to New South Wales. Here the graph of hospitalization, intensive care and on ventilator. Within the hospital admission, only a fraction of the positive cases, 0.9% in the hospital, and around 50% of them are incidental findings. Even the small proportion of cases in the hospital, but small proportion of the large number of cases, still a large number. More than 60% of the COVID admissions are under 40 years of age. 25% of those needing intensive care admission are also under 40 years of age. Most of the intensive care admissions are Delta variant and unvaccinated patients. ICU admissions are very small, and ventilators, as you can see, a tiny thread line is very, very small. This is a similar slide in a different format. As you can see, the hospitalization rising, and this is an intensive care admissions, and the green line is the ventilators. New South Wales COVID death rate. There's a huge hump here, that's the Delta wave, and this is Omicron. We have a first death on the 27th of December due to Omicron. And we are 7-day average is 3 deaths. There's a current management plan outlined by our Chief Health Officer of New South Wales. We call it a balanced approach to the surging number of cases in New South Wales, while pathology labs are still catching up on testing. So we introduced the rapid antigen test, RAT test, for those close contact without symptoms. We also changed the definition of a close contact. The definition, if you spend more than 4 hours with a positive person in a household or residential setting. Close contact and people who test COVID positive will now need to isolate for 7 days only, rather than 2 weeks. This is to keep the work balance as well. We are in a better position to defend this wave. New South Wales has the highest vaccination rate as an advantage. Currently in the warmer summer season with plenty of vitamin D, and we have COVID rules still in place. We are giving a booster dose program. Also, the government had planned to start the vaccination for the 5 to 11-year-old group since January 10, 2022. What will happen to Omicron in Sydney? It's a multiple choice question.
But much different than straight to you straight, and I'll give it to you straight as I promised you I always would. We're going to see, as you all have been hearing, continued rise in cases. Omicron is very transmissible, but much different than anything we've seen before. But you can protect yourself, and you should protect yourself, quite frankly. Get vaccinated, get boosted. There's plenty of booster shots. Wear a mask. Because what we know is this: the impact from the rising cases depends on the effect on the person based on what their vaccination status is.
And currently the port envoy to the White House Supply Chain Task Force. He's going to give some...
Сколько здесь контента, сколько приложений и каких угодно. Этот телевизор может стать самым умным предметом в вашем доме.
Наконец-то твоей жене будет с кем поговорить.
Больно. А еще можно слушать музыку и рубиться в игры.
Все только ставят цели на следующий год, а вы уже можете сделать первый шаг к своей. К Новому году на Puzzle English.
Also, the government had planned to start the vaccination for the 5 to 11-year-old group since January 10, 2022. What?
No me. Приходи ко мне учиться. Тяжело жить на свете. Живет на свете. Живет тяжело. Пошли дома, он тоже. Хочу помочь тебе, и тебе хочу помогать. Метроном. Все.